Horizon 2020, the SME Instrument. In the 3 years to December 2016, almost €900 million of funding were awarded to 2,500 companies through the SME Instrument, a component of Horizon 2020. This webcast provides an overview of the SME Instrument, which is aimed exclusively at small and medium-sized enterprises. Let's start with that strange word, instrument. Instrument is a formal name given to a set of rules for a grant that is available from the European Union, the EU. The SME Instrument is a new type of grant introduced in 2014 as part of Horizon 2020, which is the EU's research and innovation funding programme for the years 2014 to 2020. SMEs can of course participate in many parts of the Horizon 2020 programme under the same rules as any other organisation, but for SMEs only there is this additional type of grant. The objective of the SME instrument described here is taken from the Horizon 2020 specific programme. The specific programme is part of the legislation agreed between the European Council of Ministers, who are the representatives of the EU member states, and the European Parliament. These two together decide the priorities for EU-level research and innovation funding. Important points to note in this objective are: firstly, the focus is on innovation, not research. By innovation, the EU means bringing an idea for a new product or process or service to industrial or commercial readiness, for example by developing prototypes or testing them in real-world situations. As a result, most projects funded will be close to market. Secondly, there is a clear emphasis on commercialisation. So the aim of EU support is not only to help with the cost of technical work, it also addresses the development of plans for commercialisation, including assistance in raising loans and venture capital. Third, and most important, the SME instrument aims to stimulate breakthrough innovations. The funding is not for the everyday improvements which businesses make continuously. Instead, it targets the high-risk but high-potential innovations which might disrupt existing markets and suppliers or create entirely new markets. Another part of the legislation states that each project funded must have a clear European dimension. So the focus is on innovation at the EU level. This means that the EU grants will fund developments new to Europe, and the SMEs involved will, at the minimum, be targeting European markets. So, let's turn to the basic rules. Only SMEs can apply for funding. SME has the usual meaning, fewer than 250 employees, plus a financial criterion, either turnover below €50 million or assets below €43 million. And finally, independence. It doesn't form part of a larger group. As well as being SMEs, proposers must be for-profit organisations. This is so that, if the project is successful, the SMEs can raise capital and grow quickly to take full advantage of the potential created. The target is innovative SMEs with a strong ambition to develop, grow and internationalise. A single SME can apply for funding, and the large majority of proposals are from individual SMEs, but it is also possible for a consortium of SMEs to apply together. Other types of organisations can be brought into the project by the SMEs. They could be research or technology providers, including universities, or they could be potential users of the resulting products or services to give practical guidance on market requirements or to test prototypes. However, the users or technology providers must be involved by the SMEs through a subcontract or similar arrangement. As I mentioned a few moments ago, projects will usually be close to market, and this means that the EU funding will be 70% of costs. A simple illustration of the funding is given later in this webcast. A typical project would receive a grant of between €0.5 million and €2.5 million and have a duration of between 12 and 24 months. Finally, the bottom-up work programme. This is EU jargon. It means that SMEs can propose a project in any area of science or technology. However, the EU funding, about €3 billion over the 7 years of the programme, will come from two parts of Horizon 2020: societal challenges and enabling and industrial technologies. This could possibly narrow the range of topics which can be funded. We'll discuss this later in the webcast. The SME instrument provides support to SMEs in 3 phases. The first phase is a feasibility study. The aim here is to establish the technical viability of the proposed innovation or its economic viability, or maybe both of them. A wide range of activities might be covered. They include technical proof of concept, assessment of user requirements, market analysis such as size and segmentation, and potential competition, and patent and similar searches. This phase might also include searching for potential customers willing to collaborate in the main project. Phase 2 is the main project. This will normally consist of activities such as prototype development, testing or demonstrating new product, process or service. The final phase addresses commercialisation. This phase provides business coaching adapted to the specific needs of each SME. It also provides and helps in obtaining capital investment and in finding new markets and distributors across Europe. Of course, not every SME will follow all 3 phases. For example, a patent search conducted in phase 1 might identify intellectual property which can be licensed in to address the SME's needs, so a second phase for development is not needed. In other cases, the SME might have already established the feasibility of its idea and so will propose a phase 2 project directly. Earlier, I said the SME instrument will fund close to market projects. What does the EU mean by close to market? For this, they use TRLs, technology readiness levels, as a guide. TRLs have been in use for many years in the defence and aerospace industries, including the European Space Agency. They are also used by NATO in the medical field and other sectors such as oil and gas. The EU version of TRLs is shown in this slide. Using TRLs, the EU considers TRL 6 and above to be close to market. So the EU expects projects funded under the SME instrument to fall in this area. This table shows the funding and help available to SMEs for the 3 phases. In the first phase, the feasibility study will be funded through a lump sum of €50,000. Lump sum means a price for a job. If the SME completes the work, the €50,000 will be paid, no matter what the actual cost of the study. Phase 2 is the main project. Funding here is provided based on the actual costs incurred, according to the normal Horizon 2020 rules. So the SME will need to keep records of all costs incurred, including for personnel, travel, equipment, and materials used. Phase 3 starts when the SME begins its Phase 1 or 2 project, and it can continue beyond the end of these projects. Under Phase 3, a member of the Enterprise Europe network can be available, if the SME requires it, to carry out an innovation management capacity assessment. The Enterprise Europe network, or EEN, is part funded by the EU, part by national or regional authorities, to help SMEs take opportunities at the European level. Based on the EEN assessment, the SME can opt to receive help from a business coach, which is provided free of charge. The EC has a list of more than 400 approved coaches from which the SME can choose. These coaches have expertise in such areas as strategic planning, human resources, innovation management, IPR, financial management, and business improvement. Up to 3 days of help can be provided in Phase 1 and 12 in Phase 2. After Phase 1 or 2 projects are finished, EEN is available to advise on access to investment capital, whether debt or equity, and also on finding new markets and distributors across Europe. Here's a little more detail on Phase 2 funding. The first column shows the cost categories normally used in a proposal: personnel, other direct costs, subcontracting, and overheads, which are also known as indirect costs. Example A lists only two direct costs: personnel costs amounting to €800,000 and other direct costs of €200,000. Together, they add up to €1 million. Overheads are calculated by a standard Horizon 2020 rate of 25% of direct costs. That is €250,000 in example A. So total costs are €1,250,000, which means the grant will be €875,000, 70% of total costs. Example B shows a similar cost profile, except for the inclusion of subcontracting, for example to a research and technology provider who will carry out part of the work. You will notice that the 25% overhead is not added to the cost of the subcontract. So in column B, total costs are €2,250,000 and EU funding amounts to €1,575,000. The EC has rules concerning subcontracts whose costs are being claimed. One rule, used in most cases, is that subcontracts can cover only a limited part of the project. For the SME instrument, this rule is removed. Subcontracts can be a major part of the project. However, in Phase 2, the SME must justify its choice of subcontractor in terms of best value for money. Now let's return to the matter of the work programme. Earlier, I said that the work programme for the SME instrument was bottom-up. This means that SMEs can propose a project in any area of science or technology. The bottom-up nature is contained in the legislation in the extract shown on this slide. However, I also mentioned that the EU funding will come from two parts of Horizon 2020: societal challenges and enabling and industrial technologies, and warned that this could possibly narrow the range of topics which can be funded. So what is the real situation? Can an SME really propose any topic? To answer this, we first need a quick look at the overall structure of Horizon 2020. This pie chart shows the overall breakdown of the Horizon 2020 budget, including the shares for societal challenges and industrial leadership. Societal challenges divides into 7 programmes for areas such as health, energy and transport. Industrial leadership divides into 3 programmes. One titled Enabling and Industrial Technologies divides into 4 sub-programmes called Information and Communication Technologies, or ICT, Nanotechnologies, Materials, Manufacturing and Processing, NMP, Biotechnology, and Space. All 11 programmes or sub-programmes has its own section of the work programme divided into many topics. Each has its own topic or topics for the SME instrument. What do these 11 topics for the SME instrument actually say? 7 of the 11 follow the bottom-up philosophy in a specific programme, which I quoted earlier. Despite variations in language, all say that any topic within their remit, which is described in the specific programme, would be acceptable. The 4 remaining areas have taken a narrower view of what can be supported. The space programme mentions that applications related to the Galileo and Copernicus programmes and also the development of certain critical technologies could be adequately suited to this call for proposals. The biotechnology programme emphasises that SMEs working in industrial biotechnology with ideas for use of systems or synthetic biology are particularly invited to apply. The food programme is open to any proposal addressing blue growth, which covers marine biotechnology, fisheries and aquaculture. In contrast, proposals addressing terrestrial resources must pay particular attention to integrated pest management or to one of three other topics. The most extreme deviation from the bottom-up philosophy is in health. Any proposal addressing the use of information and communication technologies would be acceptable. But beyond this, only proposals addressing cell technologies in medical applications can be accepted. So it is important to read the precise wording of the work programme in these four areas. The thread that connects all stages of the process for participating in the SME instrument is the business or innovation plan. The Phase 1 proposal includes an outline business plan plus an outline of the work to be done in the feasibility phase. The proposal is limited to 10 pages in length, to which administrative forms and description of the proposers are added. The proposal will be evaluated by at least 2 independent experts in competition with similar proposals from across Europe. Only the highest scoring proposals will be funded. For those who are funded, the output of Phase 1 will be a feasibility report and an updated business plan, Business Innovation Plan 2. This will form the basis for the Phase 2 proposal, together with a costed project plan. The Phase 2 proposal, this time 30 pages in length, plus forms and description of the proposer, will again be judged by independent experts, again in competition with other proposals from across Europe. For winners of a Phase 2 grant, the resulting project will deliver the technical results of the work and also a commercialisation plan or Business Innovation Plan 3. The intention is that this Business Innovation Plan 3 is investor ready, so that the SMEs can now approach venture capitalists or banks for funding. Recent success rates are shown in this table. The number of proposals included in the table excludes a small number which did not meet the formal requirements of a proposal to the SME instrument. Overall, about 1 in 12 proposals for Phase 1 grants are selected for funding. In the case of Phase 2, the success rate is about 1 proposal selected out of every 20 submitted. For more information, visit this address on the EC's website and click on Horizon 2020's SME Instrument. Good luck with your proposals.